Hello and welcome, my name is Normskilight, and in this video we're going to be looking at how to build my underwater airlock, which can be used as a secret entrance to your base. Before I build it, I thought I'd first show you some techniques used. These are very simple. First one is the use of a redstone repeater to pass the signal straight to a block. This can be very useful, as not only as the signal passes through, it also passes upwards. So is very useful and is used a couple of times in the design. This again very simple, is a repeater. Whatever signal goes in, the opposite comes out. Just into the back of the block with a torch. Very simple. The special placement of this torch here means that one input can control two pistons, which is very useful. Just by placing it in that position. Enables it to do that. Another simple design here, relatively simple. It's an RS NOR latch. The main components are two redstone torches. One will always be on, one will always be off. It has two inputs to switch these states. So you see one is on, one is off, and then they just switch with the other input. Relatively simple. Basically a memory latch there. Okay, so some of the techniques used. Onto the design. Basically what we have here is a floor and two walls either side with a couple of doors. These are piston doors. Pistons basically just push these iron blocks over to create the door. Very simple really. We have one for the inner door and one for the outer door. Like that. And the glass here basically just simulates where the water would be in our base, so this would be the inner door, and this one here would be the outer. So that's the inner and outer doors sorted. The only other pistons would be the water hopper at the top here. So we've got three either side, which opens the water hopper. These are controlled by, at the moment, these switches, so the redstone power comes up straight up into this line here, which powers all three of these at exactly the same time. Got another one on the side here, and the other side here. So basically what this would do in the design would allow water to flow down into the center chamber. So once the inner door was locked, like so, we could then flood the top there with water. So that's it. So on to the next part of the design. Here we've got glass again, simulating where water would be. I've coloured the wall. It's for the effectively three doors. We've got the inner and the outer door. And then we've got the water hopper door there. And now at the moment, or at least at this stage of the design, each side of the doors are operated separately, and that's undesirable. We want both sides to operate exactly at the same time. So what simple solution that is to link the two. So we've got this U shape here with redstone sat on it, coming off in a T. We've got the switch. So instead of the switch being on one side, it's connected in the middle of the U shape there. So when we flip this switch here, travels up both sides of the U and it operates both sides of the door at the same time. Very simply like that. So we've got three doors at the moment. We've also got the yellow, which is the outer door. Again, connected via a U shape. The signal comes in slightly differently. Instead of just coming straight in the side, it comes through this block, which is effectively an inverter. This is because the resting state of the inner door we want to be open, but the resting state of the outer door we want to be closed, so that needs to be inverted. The third door is the water hopper. So the signal comes along here. Using this repeater we can send the signal straight through round to the other side. On the other side is exactly the same as this, in that it's a column of redstone going all the way up to this redstone wire at the top here, column of redstone torches, should I say. So it's very simple, and it's the same around the other side. It just comes round to here into this torch. Depending on how many torches you use, means how many times it's going to be inverted. So an odd number of torches means it's inverted. An even number means it would be inverted back to the same state again. So we've got here 1, 2, 3 torches. So it's inverted. Odd number, whatever input is coming in is the opposite that's coming out. So the order we want this to occur when our mechanism is running is we want to close the inner door. We want to open the hopper there, which allows this water, what would be water, to flow in. Once it's nice and filled with water, we open the outer door so that we can swim out and away. We then want the outer door to close, the water to stop flooding so that we can dry the inside out. Then once the water's all flooded away, we would open the inner door. The only other thing I've added at this stage of the design are 2 buttons for the input. So when this button is pressed, we get this short signal there. There's 2 of these buttons, one on the inside and one on the outside. They're basically very simply connected down to this input wire. And the other one, this other button here, is in a recess. It's got a ladder just then, so that we don't have water flooding in and breaking the button. That's basically one half of the design, really. Some more things to neaten it up and make it look fancy, but that's basically that half. The other half of the design would be the mechanism for keeping these doors open, basically, for certain amounts of time. First of all, we consider operating the doors to put them in their either open state in the case of the inner door, or the closed state for the case of the inner door, and the open for the other 2. To do this, we use memory latches, as we saw over there, the RS NOR latches. Very simply, we want to switch them one by one. If I run the mechanism here, we see they come on in a specific order. This is determined by how many repeaters there are between this button and the corresponding RS NOR latch. We'll just hover there so you can count them all. They're all on a 4-tick delay. The signal just basically splits again. This is splitting 3 ways here. We'll ignore this red line, the red wall line, for the time being. Let me just switch them all back manually so we can show you that again. So this is just basically all the doors changing their state. These all coloured will correspond to which door they're operating. So this changes their state once. So if they were previously open, they close. If they were previously closed, they open. The inner door, hopper, outer door, in that order. And it's relatively simple running time because we don't want to drown. So this last split off here is going upstairs here, which is going to switch all the latches back again. So after some considerable delay, again these are all on 4-tick delays, so after some delay it comes back down here into the side here, and at the same time, pretty much at the same time, these 2 latches are switched back. This is the hopper and the outer door. At the split here, we've got even more delay here, and eventually, after the flooding of the water, as I say, is flooded away, we can open the inner door. And this is just literally put these 2 halves of the design together here, so that we can run it. I'll show you the mechanism. The RS NOR latch is running now. So for the input, we'll change their state once, and then after some further delay, they'll change back again. Here, the door is the last one to go there. the outer button does exactly the same thing. You actually stand here and watch the mechanism work. So you see the water hopper door and the outer door, they closed at almost exactly the same time. Just run that one more time. There's glowstone everywhere to help you see, especially I'll put one at the back of here in the next stage of the design just so that you can see it whilst underwater, because this will all be flooded. On the next stage of the design, I've literally added a bigger platform here, but more importantly I've added water so that we can see the design and the system in action. Okay, let's go through and let's run it. We've got glowstone again at the back so we can see the buttons. Step inside, inner door, hopper, outer door in that order, and then we can swim away. The mechanism then resets itself relatively quickly. So the idea of this is this would be placed under maybe this amount of depth of water here. I mean, it's not that deep, but even at that depth you can't see the glowstone. If this was all water from where we are now down, you can't see that glowstone from the surface. So let's run it in the opposite direction here. You can step inside. When you step through the door here, you actually do catch your breath usually, which is quite handy. So there we go. That's it working in both directions. I'll show you the last step now. All I've gone and done is enclosed the whole mechanism so that there's no risk of flooding any of the components that are underneath. In my previous design of my airlock, all this timing mechanism was out to the side, but now that it's underneath, it's a much smaller, more compact design. I'll actually make this available as a schematic for importing into Minecraft Edit, MCEdit, so that you can pop it in your own world. I've included the water on the outside so that you don't have to go through the pain of adding that once you've imported it into your world, because as you may know, avoiding flowing water isn't always the easiest, because that's the last thing we want, is to be struggling to try and get towards this button and be drowning because of there being currents forcing us away from the door. The only other thing I've added would be this control room underneath. So let's go inside. We've got some manual switches that are labelled up. We've got the inner door lock, so when this is switched, no matter what button is pressed, the inner door will never open, so that's for security, not allow anyone in. If you have someone inside the airlock, you can also open the water hopper. There's the water hopper override, so we can drown them if we wanted to. Be careful when overriding that one because you could flood your base. I've also added down here you've got an outer door override as well. This is our switch, so if we push that piston into place, the buttons now do not work. We wanted to turn the design off completely. Turn that back on. That is basically, like I said, I'll make this schematic available to download. Link in the description. And that's it. I'll just hover around a bit more so you can, if you wanted to pause the video, you can see the design. The best way to do that is to come back to this one here. But it's all a relatively simple techniques used, I'd say, nothing too complicated. There is more complicated ways of creating delays other than redstone repeaters on their maximum tick. They're just far too complicated. Some of them do save space, and I could shave a little bit of space off here, but they're just really not worth it. I just prefer to keep the design as simple as possible. And that is it. Like I said, please download the design and import it into your world. Link in the description. Thanks for watching.